Presumably, most of the people listening to the show right now have heard the show before, so you know that I'm a numbers kind of guy. I like giving stats and facts, and I like discussing studies, and hardcore data is where my heart's at. Because to me, it pierces through, and I can see the real-life situations behind the numbers, if that makes any sense. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody's in love with numbers. And every once in a while, it's nice to drop the wonky approach and give you something that really drives the point home from an emotional perspective. So, on the issue of the drug war, Luke Scarmazzo wrote an op-ed about his personal experience. This is a guy who is affected by the drug war, and I want to share it with you. He says, quote, Jasmine is a typical 12-year-old girl. She's pretty, smart, and loves cheerleading, Instagram, and Katy Perry, like most girls her age. But what separates her from many of her classmates is the fact that Jasmine hasn't woken up to the presence of her father since she was 5 years old. She's become accustomed to gazing out into the crowded seats at piano recitals, school plays, and graduations, seeing all of the mothers and fathers of her friends, and knowing that her sole supporter in the audience will be her mom, and only her mom. Sometimes it makes her angry. Oftentimes she cries, because she really doesn't understand why her dad has been absent for so long. What she does know is that it hurts, and for some reason, these events always feel like something is missing, and that part never changes. My good friend, Ricardo Montes, and I operated a state-approved medical marijuana dispensary in Modesto, California. We paid our taxes, followed California law, and it was the first time either of us had ever been accused of breaking any federal law. So it was assumed the mistake would be cleared up, or at worst, we would receive a minor penalty and carry on with our lives. We were wrong. After a brief trial, we were found guilty and sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. The assistant U.S. attorney charged us with a drug kingpin statute that carried a mandatory minimum sentence of 20 years. For the past 7 years, Ricardo and I have resided in these horrendous prisons. We are confined within a small concrete cage, surrounded by the heinous, hopeless, and forgotten. There need not be any more Luke Scarmazzos or Ricardo Montes serving decades in prison for first-time marijuana offenses. There need not be any more Jasmines searching over empty seats in fatherless crowds because of unsupported and outdated laws. That's a very powerful op-ed. Now, what I want everybody to do is imagine for just a second that the cashier at your local convenience store or the owner of your local grocery store or the manager of your local wine store was sent to jail for 22 years because they dared to sell you alcohol. That's exactly what this is. Except take out the word alcohol, put in the word marijuana. I haven't even brought up the fact that, according to multiple studies, marijuana is less bad for you than alcohol is. So here we have a situation where the lesser of two drugs gets you locked up for 22 years, and your daughter grows up fatherless. And the other drug, you could wake up at whatever time you want, go to the store, get hammered during the day, go to sleep at night. There's no criminal justice involved, no police involved, no getting locked behind bars. Nobody's going to take away the owner of the wine store. Nobody's going to lock you up. We have to stop the substance madness. We have to stop the drug war. People always talk about how drugs are the problem. I don't hear many people saying that when it comes to Xanax or Red Bull or caffeine or coffee or certainly alcohol. I only hear it when it comes to the drugs that are illegal. But there's an arbitrary standard that we set up in our head where we draw lines that aren't there, imaginary lines. We say that one's bad and that one's good, and this one's bad and that one's okay. And what happens? You have good fathers like Luke Scarmazzo, who ends up in prison and his daughter grows up fatherless because he dared to sell marijuana in full compliance with state laws. And the madness, the problem isn't the drugs. The problem is the drug war.